Tonight, Fox 40 is uplifting our veterans' voices and shining a spotlight on those who have served our country.
Doesn't matter what year you served, what era, what conflict or war, you can still make connections with each other.
Tonight, we'll show you the efforts to honor their sacrifices and make sure they're recognized.
They were and still are the longest held group of POWs in our nation's history.
We'll dive into some of the battles they're still fighting years after they've served.
I am a veteran who tried to commit suicide at one point in my life.
I don't consider myself a hero, but I serve with a lot of heroes.
And we'll highlight the help that's available and shine a spotlight on those who've been strong enough to ask.
It's an honor to see the progress that some of our veterans made.
We don't give up. They don't train us that way. They don't train us to quit. So with that attitude, I kept fighting.
Above all, we honor and thank them for their service and make sure those veteran voices are heard.
Veterans Voices, a Fox 40 News special presentation. Presented by California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, Jacoby & Myers, Les Schwab Tires, and Sacramento Republic FC.
Thanks for joining us for this Fox 40 special Veterans Voices. I'm Riley Carroll. Tonight, we honor those who have served our country and shine a spotlight on those working hard to make the lives of veterans easier. We start tonight in Placer County with a look at Veterans Court. 1 in 3 of the nation's 19 million veterans have been arrested and jailed at least once, and former service members make up nearly 8% of people incarcerated in the U.S. Now, communities across the state and country are working to keep our heroes out of the criminal justice system.
Veterans Court represents the idea that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to achieving justice.
When a veteran is convicted of a crime in Placer County, they have a chance to go through Veterans Court. It's slightly different from the traditional system.
There are similarities because there is accountability, there are concerns for public safety, victim impact, but in a veterans court there is a structure that tries with more specificity in a particular case to identify what the needs of the justice-involved veteran.
The idea is to rehabilitate through treatment and services rather than time served.
And when I do those interviews with the veterans, it's not uncommon for them to become emotional or quiet or become very guarded and not want to speak on those things. And you can see and feel the trauma they've been through.
By the time the vets get to the court system, they've already been through a lot. But the county says they think about who that person was before they offended.
Before they were involved in the criminal justice system, they made the decision to enlist in our armed services to help protect our country.
Only certain crimes qualify for Veterans Court, essentially misdemeanors and probation. Though it's an alternative, the county says Veterans Court is not a lesser punishment.
The amount of work that they do, the amount of treatment that they participate in, the accountability that they're held to, testing requirements, all of those things are exponentially more difficult than if they had just opted for a non-Veterans Court outcome.
The goal? To target the trauma that contributes to the crime.
From Health and Human Services, the Probation Department, and veteran mentors that really support the veteran, and we get to the root cause of their legal issues.
Once the root is identified, the hope is addressing it will prevent reoffending.
If we're able to have people come out the back end of a process and be less likely to reoffend, that in and of itself helps reduce risk to the public and increase public safety.
Placer County says at the end of the day, those who have put their lives on the line for our country deserve the court's help.
It's an honor to see the progress that some of our veterans made and be part of the opportunity for them to get things behind them and to show respect and gratitude for the service to our country.
A road in Roseville is now named after local U.S. Marine Corps Sergeant Nicole G. G was only 23 years old when she and 12 other service members were killed in a terrorist attack in Afghanistan back in 2021. Earlier this year, family, friends, and community members gathered to honor G and celebrate the installation of the new street sign displaying Nicole G. Drive. Sergeant G's family and loved ones say they hope that this sign will remain in their city for hundreds of years to come. After 6 years of legislative limbo, Mare Island Naval Cemetery is making its way into the hands of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. That's exactly where a small group of veterans say it belongs. Now this saga of service and sacrifice will have a fitting end. Mare Island Naval Facility was the first of its kind here on the West Coast. After several iterations, it became a naval cemetery in 1854. In the 1990s, the land was transferred over to the city of Vallejo. 6 years ago, a group of veterans saw the cemetery wasn't being cared for and took action. Their goal:
have the city of Vallejo donate the land back to the federal government, specifically to the VA, which manages the National Cemetery System, and do it at no cost.
Bob Wiley, a naval veteran himself, was part of the group who secured a bill in the Senate from the late Senator Dianne Feinstein. Then, Congressman Mike Thompson wrote one in the House.
The bills never came out of committee for 4 years. Meanwhile, the cemetery continued to deteriorate.
Just last week, Governor Newsom signed transfer documents to give the land over to the Department of Veterans Affairs.
We are very, very excited about this, and now the governor's signature means that as far as California is concerned, as far as Vallejo is concerned, they want to do this for sure.
Now the deal is essentially an escrow, but Bob thinks it'll go through.
We talked to the main VA guy a couple days ago, and he didn't see any objections. So it looks like it's going to happen.
Bob says a eulogy he gave at his brother-in-law's funeral perfectly describes why keeping this cemetery in pristine condition is so important.
My topic was about the camaraderie and him being back, joining his fellow service members. And I have to tell you, when I gave that speech, I could hear the rumblings in the ground of all the veterans saying, welcome. So that meant an awful lot to me.
The hope is, under the control of the VA, the site will be better cared for and no one buried there will be disturbed or moved. Bob says the people there are legends and heroes.
We found that there are 3 Medal of Honor winners in that cemetery, the Medal of Honor recipients, and the daughter of Francis Scott Key is buried there because her husband was a veteran of the War of 1812.
Small but mighty, the group of veterans say they're doing their duty fighting for those comrades who've passed.
A very small group of veterans, okay, that you can count on one hand and possibly 1.5 hands, got the whole thing done at no expense to California or Vallejo, and funded by the National Cemetery System, and it will be like the Arlington of California. So obviously we are delighted.
Bob says as long as he's able, honoring his fellow veterans.
Why do we do it?
Is the only option.
Because we all knew it's the right thing to do.
Well, tomorrow is Veterans Day, and you can spend part of it helping bring Sacramento's rich history to life. The Old City Cemetery has been around for nearly 175 years, and volunteers are working to keep it up by restoring and repairing damaged or weathered tombstones. The group is also putting on lantern tours and movie nights. The last Saturday tour of the season will take place tomorrow, and the group will be telling true stories of veterans who have been laid to rest at that cemetery. A local campaign is giving those who serve the opportunity to plug into a special virtual experience. Last month, over 100 veterans were transported to Washington, D.C., where they got to experience the war memorials that decorate our nation's capital. Among those participants, 100-year-old John Canfield, a World War II Army veteran who was a paratrooper on D-Day.
Regardless what branch we all served, and we're all brothers under the sun. This means everything. This is my first time, so I'm curious and I'm waiting.
This special trip was part of the Mission to Honor Veterans event. After the break, putting service to his country and others above everything else, we'll introduce you to one Navy veteran and show you his deep dedication to those around him. Plus, imagine having conflicting feelings during a day meant to honor people just like you. how one veteran is still dealing with being deported after serving. Welcome back. Tonight, we bring you the story of a Navy veteran who prioritizes service to his country and others above all else. However, the military wasn't the start or the end of his deep dedication to those around him. John Moss had dreams of becoming an attorney.
Senior year, I think really God called me into another direction. My heart changed completely.
His career path changed after John heard a presentation from Teach for America.
Decided to apply. I got accepted, just abandoned all my plans for school and became a teacher. So I taught elementary school in Compton, in South Central Los Angeles for 5 years.
John earned his master's degree in education from UCLA while teaching. He began to think about what was next in his career. John says it was seeing photos of Syrian children killed in chemical attacks by the Assad regime that confirmed his decision to join the Navy.
After the events of 9/11, I almost joined the Marine Corps, like right out of high school, and almost didn't go to college. And that kind of stuck with me. I knew that if I wanted to join the military, I wanted to do something like tip of the spear. I didn't want to just like sit behind a desk. I started looking around and found out about a job called EOD, or Explosive Ordnance Disposal.
John went on to serve 8 years in the Navy, leading a platoon as an EOD officer.
I remember it was my last deployment. I was in South Korea, and I had just learned about what was going on in Myanmar, Burma, and learned about a civil war going on and how desperate the situation was. Longest running civil war in the world, 70 years.
In January of 2022, John left the Navy. As a newly minted veteran, he joined the Free Burma Rangers. It's a group that does humanitarian work in the conflict zones of Burma, Iraq, and Sudan.
God's given me this opportunity to learn all this stuff in the Navy, become like highly trained in a skill set to save lives. It's also given me the heart to like love children and want to serve in my community.
John took everything he learned in the Navy and got to work. In Burma, he did everything from sewing and ironing to bringing aid to hundreds of thousands of women, children, and elderly fleeing their government.
Hey, John? Yes, I'll help you. It'll be less painful for him.
John used his naval EOD training to go directly into the war zone, clearing landmines.
We'd go to the front line, into the conflict with the people that were fighting. We would do like emergency medical treatment as people were being attacked. You know, if they were killed, we would try to bring their bodies back so that they could have like a proper burial.
John says one of the most important parts of his work was getting the word out to the rest of the world.
Taking pictures and video and writing reports, and we'd send these out to news syndicates. And that, you know, when we were there, everything in Ukraine popped off. It was a little disheartening because I remember, you know, all the people in Burma, they have social media, and they saw all the attention that Ukraine was getting. And then in Burma, they're like, well, what about us? You know, does nobody care? So that was rough. That was hard to see.
John used his phone to take pictures and video to document what was going on half a world away from his home in California.
Burma burned this house and 6 others in Nalon Village.
He explains why covering the Civil War is so difficult.
It's a war zone. To get in there, it's very difficult. The country's shut off. You take great risks. The team that I was with, we all took risks going in there, risks to life and safety. So any journalist that wants to go into the area to do that is risking a lot.
A risk to life and safety is something John says he accepts wholeheartedly, as all veterans do.
God's given me one life, so I may as well go for it. If there's a need or if there's something I can do to help, even if it's at risk to my life, I know my time here is temporary.
The choice to fight for our country and others was one John could make. He says many in places like Burma aren't so lucky.
I think for them, they don't really have a choice. If they don't fight, if they don't resist, they're going to be killed. Their villages will be destroyed. They'll be burned down. The women will be raped, and like the kids will have to flee. If they don't fight, they're going to die.
For the last 15 years, John has devoted his life to serving others, but he says everyone can help those around them.
I don't think everyone's called to go to a war zone, to go to Burma. Everyone has something that they can do to help somebody else.
You just have to look around for all the ways you can.
Just having a heart to want to serve others, think about other people before yourself, and to really just go for it. Like, put everything you have into it, you know. Don't be lukewarm about it. See what the need is and try to fulfill it the best you can.
After deferring a year to stay in Burma, John is now earning his Master's of Public Administration at Harvard University. He's studying human rights and NGO management. Well, Veterans Day can be a bittersweet time for those who have been deported. That includes Alex Murillo, whose family moved to Phoenix when he was a toddler. He became a legal resident and later joined the Navy. After serving, he had difficulties adjusting to civilian life and got into some legal trouble. He was sent to prison for a marijuana-related conviction in 2011 and was then deported to Tijuana, Mexico.
It was horrible at first, of course. There was anger, frustration, a lot of pain. It's a culture shock to be sent to a country that you don't know. I never really knew Mexico until I was forcibly sent there.
It would be 11 years before Murillo was allowed to return home. He's now advocating for the Veterans Service Recognition Act. It's a bill that would allow active duty soldiers to become naturalized right out of boot camp and create a path for deported vets to return back home. After the break, celebrating 50 years of freedom, we'll take you inside a new exhibit honoring those who were taken captive during the Vietnam War. Plus, walking 48 miles in 24 days, what one veteran says he hopes to change one step at a time. Welcome back, everyone. For many members of the military, transitioning into civilian life can be as challenging as serving. But there's a program in the San Diego area that uses art to help create that new life. The Veterans Art Project provides ceramics classes as a hands-on way for vets to express themselves. Instructors say what's going on inside inevitably comes out through art, and when it does, they're ready.
That's when, as an art therapist, I have to be really mindful of what they're sharing because they may or may not be aware of it, and that's the opportunity that I have to process what is actually happening in that art piece.
These classes are also launching careers. Members have gone back to school to study ceramics and even begun selling their own art. It's been 50 years since Americans held captive during the Vietnam War were released. Fox 40 contributor Zara Barker takes us inside a new exhibit in San Diego that's honoring dozens of prisoners of war.
When you open the door to this exhibit, you're greeted by an image of some of the 591 prisoners of war leaving Vietnam, finally on their way home to their families after being in captivity for up to 8 years.
They were and still are the longest held group of POWs in our nation's history.
The exhibit, Open Doors, Vietnam POWs, 50 Years of Freedom, celebrates the lives of 30 former Vietnam prisoners of war.
We tried to capture them, their humanity, their personalities, and their life perspective.
It publicly celebrates these men, their families, their kids. It honors the sacrifices that they made, not by choice, but by force.
Captain Jack Ench is one of the 30 veterans that Jamie Howren photographed and Taylor Keelan profiled.
Very flattered and very honored to be in this group with a bunch of these other real heroes. I don't consider myself a hero, but I served with a lot of heroes.
Captain Ench was shot down in Vietnam and held captive for 7 months. Still, he calls himself lucky.
I went through my own little crucible of hell. There the first few days I was captured, I came back a little short-handed, as you see. They kept the thumb. It was injured in the explosion of the missile, and then they used that against me for 3.5, 4 days. Would not give me medical attention until I finally started answering questions.
This exhibit from this best friend duo was first displayed in 2002 at this same location. Then it traveled to 21 other venues, and for the first time in 20 years, it's back in Coronado.
When we were able to bring it back here, and I walked in and saw them being unpacked out of the boxes, I cried.
The moving photos, stories of survival, and relics from captivity.
These are original pieces that hung in the cell, but these are the rules in Vietnamese and in English of what they had to follow as POWs.
Now on display for the public for the first time in 15 years.
I just hope that this exhibit shows the value in our military and reminds people of the sacrifice that our military makes to protect our homeland.
For Veterans Voices, I'm Zara Barker.
A former Marine is on a new mission. Joshua Oliveira is walking 48 miles in 24 days to raise awareness and money to help veterans struggling with thoughts of suicide. Oliveira says when he got out of the Marines, he fell into a deep depression himself. A failed suicide attempt proved to be a wake-up call. He got help, and now he's hoping he can help fellow veterans one step at a time.
I'm hoping that this will be the thing to just stop everybody from saying, hey, how you doing? And change that narrative into, hey, what's going on in your mind?
Oliveira is working with Mission 22. It's a group helping active service members, veterans, and their families with PTSD, anxiety, or depression. If you or someone you know is struggling, contact the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988. After the break, from Navy member to pro athlete to music producer, how one man's unique journey has inspired him to help out other veterans. He's a Grammy-nominated hip-hop artist, producer, songwriter, as well as a Navy veteran who's using his connections to help others. B. Taylor served for several years until he received a temporary assignment in San Diego to pursue a professional football career. While on a trip to Los Angeles, he showed off his piano skills during a chance encounter with Snoop Dogg. He says his rise up the music industry has given him insight into the challenges many veterans face after their service.
Please don't let the American people forget who we are. I might not come back, and if I do, I might be messed up, but you have a platform. Please don't let them forget who I am.
Taylor used his connections to start the One Life organization. It's a nonprofit that helps active duty military, veterans, and their family through sports and music. Thank you for joining us tonight for Veterans Voices. We thank all those who have served our country. We also thank those still serving in our armed forces. For all of us here at Fox 40, I'm Riley Carroll. Have a good night.